Hi everyone, it's Mina, your Japanese art-loving friend. Today, I'll talk about how to color hair, especially how to add shadows. In the last video, I explained how to draw hair, so if you're interested, be sure to check that out. In this video, I'll explain 4 basic types of shadows, using both curly and straight hair as example. In the latter half of the video, I go into detail about shadows with a light source and background, demonstrating how to apply them in practice. Are you ready? Let's get started. First, let me explain the 4 types of shadows you can add to hair. I'll be using both a straight hairstyle and a curly hairstyle to demonstrate. Shadows can vary quite a bit depending on the texture of the hair. The first type of shadow is the curl shadow. For curly hair like in example A, adding the shadow to the underside of the curl helps convey that the hair is rounded. On the other hand, for straight hair like in example B, obviously shadows don't form as easily since the hair is straight. In this case, you can add a subtle shadow along the thickness of the hair at the ends, if you like. When adding this shadow, focus on the underside of the curved part. If you soften the shadow on the side where the light hits, it will look much more natural, helping to emphasize the gentle curve towards the end. The second shadow type is overlapping shadows. Those appear where strands of hair overlap. In curly hair, you want to add these shadows a lot, but still soften them a bit for a natural look. For straight hair, since strands don't overlap much, these shadows are less common. However, you can emphasize shadows on the underside of the hair. The third shadow type is thickness shadows. These shadows form along the sides of hair strands or locks. This is commonly seen in anime-style art, but personally I don't use it much. It's when you shade each lock of hair separately. So in semi-realistic character, maybe it doesn't need it much, but it's a matter of personal preference, of course. The fourth shadow is my favorite, natural light shadows. This can see mainly when there is a background involved. These shadows form when hair casts a shadow on the skin or cloth. You don't need to worry about this when there is no background or light source. But I love it because it adds a touch of realism. Depending on the light source, the shadows change. For curly hair, the backs tend to cast a thicker shadow on the face due to their volume. For straight hair, the shadows are sharper and more defined, but cover less area, which gives the character a sense of less hair volume. Of course, even straight hair can have a lot of volume, so for characters like that, you'd want to add more shadows like you would for curly hair. This all changes depending on the angle of the light. Oh, and if the light is coming from below, you wouldn't shade like this at all, of course. Anyway, keep this in mind when you're drawing a character with a background. Lastly, let's talk about the highlight, which isn't really a shadow but rather a light pattern. After you've added all your shadows, you can adjust the highlight by adding strands of light here and there. It adds a semi-realistic touch, and I use this quite often. Now, let's put all of this into practice. First, let's start with the shadows that form on the hair strands themselves. Personally, I don't like to add sauce too much, but if you're doing anime style coloring, you can use it. Next, for curly hair, add shadows at the ends where the hair curls down. Then, add shadows where the hair overlap, and shade the underside. And finally, add highlights. And if you're drawing a character without a background, they should be around finished. By the way, this shading only took me about 3 minutes, but feel free to take your time and be more detailed. Next, let's practice adding shadows for a character with a background and a natural light. Shadows that fall on the skin or cloth can indicate how far or close the hair is to those objects. For example, look at the bangs. The middle part of the hair is farther from the shadow, but the tips are much closer to the face. If you look from the side, while I exaggerated it a little, okay, it would look like this. By shading like this, you can communicate that the hair has volume, especially in the areas far from the shadow. Now, here's an example of a bad shadow placement. If you draw the shadow directly along the hair like this, how does that look? It feels quite different, right? The shadow looks kind of meaningless in this case. So, it's really important to think about how far the hair is from the object it's casting a shadow on. Let me give you one more example. Look closely at the tips of this hair. This shows that the ends are flipping outward, not inward. The best place to see this is here. In the line knot, the hair is already flipping outward, but I want you to emphasize that even more. The shadow placement is helping with that too. By making that part of the hair far from the cloth, just more shadow, and the parts close to the cloth have almost no shadow. Thinking about things like this makes shading really fun. At first, it might seem difficult, but as you practice, you'll get the hang of it. And soon you'll find that shading becomes one of the most enjoyable parts of painting. Maybe not. Well, what did you think? Today, we talked about how to add shadows to hair. Once you get the hang of shading, drawing becomes so much more fun. So take some time to learn and apply it to your own artwork. That's it for today. Thanks for watching until the end. If you found this video helpful, please let me know by leaving a like, a comment, or subscribing to the channel. Your support really motivates me to keep going. Alright, see you in the next video then. Keep having fun with your art and have a great drawing day. Bye bye.